Hi, welcome back to part 3 of Tier 2, Building Regenerative Healthy Communities. We're looking now at participatory design methods and how to do a SWOT analysis and also the Global Eco-Village Network Sustainability Cards. To begin with, community participation means that we are involving the people in shaping policies, something that we call co-design. And this is a reflective practice in working with participation of the citizens' engagement in relation to different issues, from the design of technologies to social innovation, meaning how people interact together or businesses, from urban planning to production processes even. It connects, among others, to the topics of co-creation, open innovation, user-driven activism, cultural production, living labs, fabrication labs, and urban labs, urban planning, co-production, products and systems design. So really here it's the citizens are actively and participating in any decision. For example, in Hawaii, in Honolulu, the people were the board of directors for the energy company for electricity was led by people, and they basically put the criteria of how they wanted the renewable energy criteria to be, and the engineers, the electrical engineers, took care of the rest. But the thing that we're going to learn now is how do we go and talk to people. So there are ways to communicate with people, get their opinions, and get their opinions, whether it's a problem or whether it's a strength or a weakness, and or a threat, and worries, fears, and also listen about their potential solutions. Now, sometimes you can find some conflict, like differences in their ideas. This is also good for mapping out everyone's thoughts. So we have like a board where we can show all of the ideas, or even like a drawing. So people come and they look at the big picture, they look at their neighborhood, and then we start to add all of the challenges, weaknesses, and then some potential solutions. And they are co-creating, as you see over here. I just searched participatory mapping, and then I just want to show you what it looks like. Everyone from every community gets to have a broader understanding of the issues, and also from perspectives. So one group can have one idea, and the other group can have a different and opposing idea. So this is good for having people understand each other's perspective and also respecting, and it leads to conflict facilitation eventually, and they co-create by caring for their place a solution together. So that's really the idea here. Okay, so here we are, participatory methods in urban planning, transit walks. And so these walks are very interesting and free tool to get you to know your own neighborhood and to work with your clients as an urban planner. All right, so what does that mean? These are, that's a participatory exercise where members of the community, planners, and other municipality representatives walk through different areas of the neighborhood, interviewing passersby, and drawing a map with observations of characteristics, risks, and existing solutions after the walk. So you kind of like want to do like a SWOT analysis where you look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and solutions. So you have to take your wicked problems and add them as well. As you ask the people, you think about the risks and any solutions that you can come up with yourself or by asking them. These walks are typically applied in villages for health and sanitation planning, but are increasingly used in urban settings. They are particularly useful for urban planners who come into a community for the first time, because they will not only show you a transect of the neighborhood, but they also establish immediate contact between you and neighbors. You will quickly get to the bottom of topics that move the community. So in your neighborhood, you can ask your neighbors if you like, or you are part of the neighborhood, to be honest. So you have observed enough, so you can be part of that. Your voice could be part of that as well. They have many benefits. They are one of the most participatory methods, and and they change the perspective of the researcher who acts not only as an observant, but also they also develop solutions. Researchers or development experts often have very limited knowledge of local practices and customs. The walk ideally results in a mutual interchange of knowledge between researchers and locals. So actually knowing the community. The very visual focus of the exercise inspires a deep understanding of different concerns. Finding a common language during the walk is one of the most valuable aspects of this method. Transit walks can involve everyone, including residents with limited English and business owners lacking the time to attend community meetings. Experts require a successful participatory technique to be simple, practical, and flexible, as well as under shared control. Transit walks fulfill all of these requirements. Despite its simplicity, the method holds some problems, and in so many participatory processes, it may be challenging to find representatives from all parts of the community. And that's why I was, I want you to work within the limitations that you have. It's not a problem at this point. Depending on the time of the day, the season, and events like school holidays and transit walks only show very specific time and situation. But because if you're doing it for your own neighborhood, this is where you can actually give a better idea because you were living there. Based on the author's experience, he says, I learned that ethical issues like how to guarantee the safety of participants can arise. Community members want external experts to have a good impression of their neighborhood and might hide some of its uglier sides. There can be a bias of interviews of neighbors. Another method-related criticism is the lack of exchange between different groups. It would be interesting to let several groups do the same transit walk and compare their experience. Now, additionally, a transit walk requires time, willingness, and motivation. Therefore, it is not adequate for the solution of pressing problems. At the same time, the challenge is to sustain the initial dynamics and maybe even euphoria generated by transit walks. How can continuity be assured? Here, it is important to use community mapping before and after the walk and to draw conclusions from the maps. So the results must be made accessible to the community. However, there is still not enough experience on how to properly interpret these maps or other data from transit walk and translate them into action. So that's really interesting because at our school, we did some before the past, in 2018, 2019, we did a lot of community involvement and asking them about what they think about things. And also 2019 to 2020, it's just very important to be present in the community, to hear from people what they think, what they feel, like understanding the context. So that's the idea, understanding the context. And I don't think it's a good idea just to show up there. You have to earn their trust. You have to know them, and you have to be really perceptive in the way you look at people. So the psychology, and know how to ask the right questions, and just also take a walk into the neighborhood before you even talk to people. Transit walks are often used in the methods of total sanitation, which involves a walk to make people aware of their hygienic consequences. Yeah, here, I want to finish here over here that the results made, however, it's still not enough experience on how, considering the participatory urban design, transit walks don't necessarily help in finding design suggestions. Walking observations with a local guide or shadowing the locals must be more illuminating, but not very participatory. So yeah, fine, you have to, this gives you more information about the context of the place. Now there's another way to get more perspective, and I want you to do that. I want you to put some photography also. Second method is to use auto photography, which is in any context, it helps you understand the perspective of the people's perspective of their own neighborhood. And taking pictures has become something so integral of our daily lives, and it actually makes a lot of sense to transform photography into a method for participatory planning. One of the first steps when coming into community as a planner is to identify problems, challenges, and solutions, as well as existing ideas together with neighborhoods. So yeah, ask the people or ask yourself, you know, what are the problems, and we're the wicked problems, you know, we have our wicked problems. What are some ways to solve these problems? But it could be your voice, but I want you to get the voice of other people around you in the area. Maybe ask 2 or 3 people. I mean, it depends on how the access that you have, because I feel like in urban settings, we're not really engaged with our neighborhood, but you never know. I mean, you could knock on some doors and get some feedback if you'd like. Now, participatory methods in urban planning that involve mapping now, participatory mapping. This is the first part in the series that talks about visualizing these discussions and walks and auto photography. So basically, on the map, you're putting all of the wicked problems, and you're putting also the solutions. So you're color coding as well. So you have to give a color for the way we did your wicked problems. You have to give a color for a problem, and it's the root cause and the primary and secondary causes, but and the consequences. But also, I want you to add now some solutions, okay, on your map if you can, in another color. Maps are a great instrument to understand many different aspects of a neighborhood or even just a street. If you are undertaking a participatory process with the community members, it's important to visualize these ideas. Why? Because you can make these connections that we talked about. Okay, this is for you to be able to connect people to economy, culture, society, and ecology. This is where they can show you all of the problems one way at a glance with their solutions, if possible. Okay. All right, so the SWOT analysis stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So now for your neighborhood, I want you to come up with a SWOT analysis by writing the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strength, as well as threats. So there is a way for you to organize this. You can put it in boxes. You can do it like a mind map, whatever approach you like. You can go online and search how you can represent SWOT analysis, but just represent it in a way that is visually easy for people to look at. I've seen some SWOT analysis that come in the form of tables that are actually very difficult to read, and just, you know, they confuse the reader. So just try to organize it in a way that is like appealing and friendly for us to read and easily. So yeah, you have to analyze now and assess the situation. And when we say the weaknesses, really it's the wicked problems, okay? So for us over here, we're looking at the wicked problems of our neighborhood. And so over here, we're looking at these wicked problems. And we're analyzing the strengths, the opportunities, and the threats. The next thing I want you to do is then put some goals for solutions. And I want these goals to come from, for the society, the culture, the economy, the ecology, the way we're doing collecting water, air, whatever you feel like is helpful. I will give you here some tips and inspiration. And I'm going to ask you to use these cards, to select from these cards to be your goals, okay? And these are sustainability cards by the Global Eco Village Network. We call them GEN. And so the first ones are from whole systems thinking. I want you to select the ones that you want, okay? So building networks and alliances for mutual support across all divides, find strength and weakness and leverage points in all areas. Meaning that this is like a SWOT analysis, you know? This is a SWOT analysis. Learn from nature and practice whole systems thinking. This means connecting everything together. Learn from nature is biomimicry, which is the next thing we're going to do. Engage all stakeholders in designs for the future. So the more you engage people from your neighborhood, the better, or the more, not only your stakeholders, it could be like even people from the government, if you're talking about waste or water or yeah, and then identify appropriate scale for efficient solutions. Do you want, what kind of solution? Is it short term, long term? Honor traditional wisdom while integrating positive innovation. And so we don't forget about our wisdom that kept people surviving for a very long time. So we want to go back to, because usually they followed natural ways of doing things. Sorry. And then the next one is culture, reconnecting with nature and embrace low-impact lifestyles, respect cultural traditions and support human dignity, engage actively to protect communities and nature, nurture mindfulness and personal growth, connect to a higher purpose in life, celebrate life and diversity through art. So these are the goals that you want to set. And these goals, they come as solutions for the people. I want you to pause the video here, and I want you to pick and select which ones for assessment, like which ones are we lacking, which ones are we doing well on, and how can I increase one to improve it, let's say. The next one is about society. We are cultivating responsive, inclusive, and transparent decision making. We're empowering participatory leadership and good governance. We're practicing conflict facilitation, communication, and peace building. We're embracing diversity and building thriving communities. We develop fair, effective, and accountable institutions. We ensure equal and lifelong access to holistic education and healthcare. For wealth and economy, a sustainable economy, we reconstruct the concepts of wealth, work, and progress. We generate well-being for all through economic justice. We empower local economy. We invest in fair trade and ethical systems of exchange. We cultivate social entrepreneurship and create sustainable solutions. For the ecology, we innovate and spread green buildings and technologies. We clean and replenish sources and cycles of water. We increase biodiversity and regenerate ecosystems. Grow food and soils through organic agriculture. Move towards 100% renewable energies. Work with waste as a valuable resource. So all of these can be goals for solutions that you can practice in your neighborhood design. For communities, for regenerative communities. Okay, now, so off to biomimicry, and how can biomimicry now help you in forming your better vision of the solutions and goals that you're going to make. So we're looking at this article. It's also by Daniel Christian Wall, and he talks about nature's whole system optimization that informs community design. And so he says over here, all our actions affect the sustainability, resilience, and health of our communities in which we live and work and learn. The relationship we create and collective vision of the future we create with our communities will shape whether they are sustainable and capable of regeneration. The community level is where we can all contribute to the emergence of a regenerative culture. The nested networks of interactions we co-create shape the present and the future of our community and its participation in local ecosystems. Sustainable community design is about becoming conscious of these nested networks of relationships and processes and then optimizing them in ways that support the health of the community. The aim is to integrate the social, ecological, and economic and cultural view dimension of the community, creating a culture of collaboration and solidarity capable of being regenerative in the long term. Communities that succeed in this are thriving, healthy, and inspiring places that offer an exceptional quality of life to their residents while having a positive impact on the local and regional environment. Understanding ecological communities, ecosystems, means nature now. Better can help us fit in and optimize human communities in symbiosis with the rest of life, rather than maximizing the numbers and short-term success of one individual species. Ecosystems tend to optimize the whole system in ways that support diversity, health, resilience, and the capacity for regeneration of the ecosystem as a whole. The most successful and long-term strategy for an individual or community is to emulate nature's fundamentally collaborative pattern of whole systems optimization and mimic its processes and relationships. That's biomimicry for social innovation. Long-term success and vitality of all participants depends on the health of the whole system. How can we design ecological and sustainable settlements? How are we celebrating and nurturing human and natural diversity in our community? How can we focus our community around a human scale of personal interactions and collaboration between people so residents can form personal bonds with each other? How can we create a settlement of short distances and integrate
important community functions at a walkable scale. We talked about this in Tier 1. How can we use as little space as possible for human infrastructures and create a high-density living space that integrates nature into community fabric? How can we encourage community participation and inspire all community members to co-create the collaborative advantage of responsible participation? How can we use local renewable energy resources, energy-saving design to create an energy-efficient settlement? How can we create a climate-responsible, emissions-free community? How can we create a quiet and beautiful settlement? How can we use integrated design and to value water and to help regenerate local watersheds? How can we create effective patterns of circular resource use at local and regional scale to make our settlements predominantly waste-free? How can we design healthy buildings for healthy communities? How can we integrate living space for native species and produce plants into the fabric of settlement? How can we nurture ecological and social literacy in the community and establish effective processes of creating conflict mediation and resolution? How can we co-create a guiding community narrative of human values shared by all residents? Sustainable community and human settlement design is based on systematic ecological insight, which will help us create communities capable of regeneration, adaptation, and transformation. This is what we call transformative communities, communities that create conditions for emerging of a regenerative culture. How can we design as nature and in community in elegant adaptation to this unique place and culture? These diverse regenerative cultures can evolve from this question. Now I'm going to show you how we can use nature as our basic, let's say, stepping stone to design with her. All right, so now you're going to go to a website called AskNatureorg, and as it says over here, it's time to ask nature, okay? Because all of what we've been talking about in the previous part of this video is, you know, how is nature doing this? How is nature building resilient communities and maintaining communities and building communities? So now you can click onto the biological strategies over here. After we click on biological strategies, we look at these functions over here on the left-hand side. So we ask ourselves, how might we maintain community? Or anything else you want. But if you want the community part, you click on that, you get cooperate to maintain community, coordinate, and provide ecosystem services. So if you click on cooperate to maintain community, let's say over here, you get 71 results, and you can read about different species and how they work together in their own community to cooperate, to maintain their own community. So then let that be your inspiration to how can you use that in your neighborhood? How can you use that in your school neighborhood? How can you, or community, how can you use that in your business? And so try to emulate, to take this as a way for you to, okay, can I do it like them? Nature is doing it this way. Can we employ the same method? Also, you can look at cooperation. You can look at between, you know, different species or the same species. We can look at coordination activities, self-organization activities, and coordinate systems, and provide ecosystem services over here. Well, basically, this is more about like breakdown, chemical breakdown, and I like manage disturbance in a community. Pollination, this is like, you know, you're moving, it's like a delivery system. Regulate the climate, regulate hydrological flows, regulate water storage. You also can have process information, and this is about the technology aspect, navigation, signals. So just, you know, feel free to select your inspiration by clicking on one of these, let's say, and from there you can find it and an inspiration that you can mimic on the human level.